Laissez-faire versus interventionist approaches to export and imports. Theories of trade patterns. Trade theories are different theories that expand our understanding of how government trade policies might affect business competitiveness. For instance, they provide insights on favorable locales and products for exports, thereby helping companies determine where to locate their production facilities when governments do or do not impose trade restrictions. These theories help economists and policymakers understand the drivers of international trade and predict how trade patterns might evolve. They also guide decisions related to policy and international economic relations. These theories provide insights why countries trade, what they trade, and how trade patterns evolve, helping economists and policymakers understand and analyze international trade dynamics. Mercantilism. Mercantilism is the oldest trade theory, but on which neo-mercantilism has more recently emerged. During the mercantilist era, a favorable balance of trade, also called surplus, still indicates that a country is exporting more than it imports. An unfavorable balance of trade, also known as a trade deficit, indicates the opposite. Many of these terms are misnomers. For example, the word favorable implies benefit, and the word unfavorable suggests disadvantage. Mercantilism is an economic theory and policy that was prevalent in Europe during the 16th to 18th centuries. It emphasized the accumulation of wealth, particularly in the form of gold and silver. Through a favorable balance of trade, here's an example of mercantilism in practice. For example, imagine a European nation, let's call it Euronia, practicing mercantilism during the 17th century. Export of goods. Euronia actively encourages its merchants to export as many goods as possible to other countries. This includes manufactured products like textiles, machinery, and even raw materials. Import restrictions. To maintain a favorable balance of trade, Euronia imposes high tariffs and trade barriers on imports. This discourages foreign goods from entering Euronia's.
Free trade theories. Free trade is a largely traditional policy under which government impose absolutely no tax or duties on export or goods on export. There are two predominant theories of free trade: two, mercantilism and cooperative advantage. Mercantilism is an economic practice by which government use their economics to augment state power at the expense on other countries. Two, advantage. Cooperative advantage is the economic ability to produce a particular goods or service at lower opportunity cost than its trading partner. Theory of absolute advantage: the ability of an individual, company, region, or country to produce greater quality of goods and service with the same quality to input per unit on time. Or through specialization, it could increase efficiency for three reasons. One, labor could become more skilled by repeating the same task. 2. Labor could not lose time switching production from one kind of product to another. 3. long production run could provide incentive for developing more effective working method. And the natural advantage in creating product or service come for climate condition, access to certain natural resources or availability of certain labor force. And natural advantage, it also helped explain where certain manufacture or process item meant best to produce, particular if a company can reduce transportation costs by processing agricultural commodity or natural resources for exporting. And the acquired advantage usually is in either product or process technology. An advantage of product technology is that enable country to produce a unique product or one and easy distinguish from those competitors. And also acquired advantage through technology to create new product, displace old ones, and altered trading partner relationship. And lastly, the theory of cooperative advantage. The ability of economic to produce given goods and service more efficient and economical, competitive manners that it earned.
Assumptions and limitations of the absolute and comparative advantage theories. Thus, both absolute and comparative advantage theories are based on increasing output and trade through specialization. However, these theories make assumptions, some of which are not always valid. The theories of absolute and comparative advantage both assume that resources are fully employed. When countries have many unemployed or unused resources, they may seek to restrict imports to employ or use idle resources. When we say absolute advantage theory, this theory suggests that countries should specialize in producing goods or services in which they have an absolute advantage and then trade this product with other nations. By doing so, both countries can benefit from the exchange, as they obtain the goods they produce most efficiently while saving resources and promoting international trade. While comparative advantage theory, it suggests that countries should specialize in producing goods and services in which they have a lower opportunity cost or the cost of foregoing the next best alternative. By specializing and trading with other nations, countries can maximize their overall economic welfare, as it allows them to obtain goods and services at a lower opportunity cost than if they tried to produce everything domestically. This theory is a fundamental concept in international trade and underpins the benefits of globalization and free trade. Assumptions of absolute advantage theory assumes that countries differ in their ability to produce goods efficiently, believes that countries should specialize in producing goods they can produce most efficiently, ignores factors like transportation costs and economies of scale. Limitation of absolute advantage theory doesn't explain why countries engage in trade even if one has an absolute advantage in all goods, doesn't account for the benefits of specialization and trade based on the comparative advantage. Assumption of comparative advantage theory assumes that countries differ in their opportunity costs for producing goods, suggests that countries should specialize in producing goods with lower opportunity costs, recognizes that trade can be mutually beneficial even if one country is less efficient in producing all goods. Limitation of comparative advantage theory assumes perfect competition which may not always hold, doesn't consider non-economic factors that influence trade decisions like government policies and cultural preferences. Here's a sample scenarios to illustrate the absolute advantage theory. Agricultural example. Country A can produce 100 bushels of wheat in 1 hour of labor. Country B can produce 50 bushels of wheat in 1 hour of labor. In this case, country A has an absolute advantage in wheat production because it can produce more wheat per hour of labor. According to the theory, country A should specialize in wheat production while country B should focus on producing goods or services in which it has an absolute advantage. These examples demonstrates that the concept of absolute advantage where countries benefit from specializing in the production of goods or services in which they are more efficient, leading to increased overall economic efficiency and trade opportunities. And here's a sample scenarios to illustrate the comparative advantage theory. Let's consider two countries, the country A and the country B, and two goods, wheat and cloth, with the following production capabilities and opportunity costs. In country A, 1 hour of labor can produce 10 bushels of wheat or 5 yards of cloth. Opportunity cost of producing 1 bushel of wheat is giving up 2 yards of cloth. In country B, 1 hour of labor can produce 5 bushels of wheat or 10 yards of cloth. Opportunity cost of producing 1 bushel of wheat is giving up 2 yards of cloth. In this scenario, both countries have an absolute advantage in one of the goods, or country A in wheat and country B in cloth. However, when we consider the opportunity cost, we can see that in country A, the opportunity cost of producing 1 bushel of wheat is 2 yards of cloth. In country B, the opportunity cost of producing 1 bushel of wheat is also 2 yards of cloth. Country A has a lower opportunity cost in wheat production while country B has a lower opportunity cost in cloth production. Therefore, country A should specialize in producing wheat, and country B should specialize in producing cloth. By trading these goods, both countries can benefit from each other's comparative advantages, leading to increased overall efficiency and a higher standard of living.